Hello guys, my name is Simon. I'm a real estate broker at Simon and Associates Real Estate, and today I wanted to go over some very important topics that I think that every realtor should know, especially as a brand new real estate agent. So some of the things that a lot of realtors um, fail at when starting their real estate journey is the most simplest thing, which is pre-qualifying the clients. And I think this is such a very important topic that is being missed by a lot of realtors and a lot of brokers. And I think it's very critical that I go over some of the stuff to help you succeed with your real estate journey. So we are going to focus on buyers today, and I'm going to talk about what some of the things that you should be looking for when working with a buyer and how do you pre-qualify a buyer. So when we're working with buyers, we're technically representing the selling side. So in real estate, you have the listing side and you have the selling side. And sometimes the selling side might sound like that you are selling the property, but instead of representing the buyer. So whenever you see selling agent, that means the buyer's agent. Okay, so you're not confused. So some of the tools that you will need to help you succeed to have a buyer's guide, which we created for every single realtor on our website. If you visit simonandassociatesrealestate.com, then you go to the blogs. Under blogs, you're gonna see that we have a buyer's guide written for you. All you have to do is just go over the guide, which I'm gonna show you right now. And this guide will help you with some of the stuff that you will need when working with your buyers. Well, I just want to show you real quick of exactly what I mean. So we go to our website. You go to simonandassociatesrealestate.com, then you click on the blogs right here. You're going to see it right there, the buyer's and the seller's guide. But we're going to focus on the buyer's guide. So before listing a home, well, I should say, there you go. Okay. So before working with a buyer, or if you are working with a buyer, the first thing that you need to do, number one, you need to get the buyer pre-qualified or pre-approved for a mortgage. If your client says, "Oh, I'm buying cash," you need to get some type of proof of funds showing that they have the amount in their bank account. And don't feel like embarrassed or anything to ask your clients for those things because they are necessary, especially if they're serious people. That's the first step. You gotta make sure that the client is pre-qualified. Me personally, I never show a home to a client unless they have a pre-approval or they have proof of funds, because I would be wasting my time and they would be wasting their time. Another thing is if you're working with renters, what you can do is you can ask them for some of the qualifications that you will need. For example, if somebody says, "Hey, I need to rent a home," what I would do is I would ask them for, number one, are you employed? If they say yes, then I would need proof of employment, or it's like maybe a pay stub or something that shows that they're employed and how much they're making. Because whenever you're getting a client to rent a home, some landlords, it really depends on the landlord, but some of them might ask for 3 times the amount of income of the rent. So if the rent is $1,000, they want to see $3,000 in income.
Exactly. Exactly. This is what's happening.
Yeah. So if somebody comes to you and says, "I want to rent a house," you would tell them, "Okay, how much are you making?" And if they're making 3,000 and they want rent a house for 1,000, then they're good to go. That's number one. Number two, credit requirements. And it's the same thing with buying a home. The lenders, they call it ICC, which is income, credit, and capital. Capital means money, right? So the income, the C is the credit. Now, when it comes to the credit, there's no really, there's not a set number because it goes based on the factors. Well, I know a lot of landlords, if it's under 620, they would say, "Hey, I don't think I'm interested in this client." But we never tell the client you have to have a 620 credit or you have to have a 640 credit, because we're not lenders and this is like out of our scope. And we try to stay within our scope as much as possible because you don't want to say something that can come back and haunt you. So you got to be very, very cautious about what you say. Okay. The other thing is the C, state requirements. When it comes to deposits, you're not allowed to collect more than a month and a half in deposit. So if the rent is $1,000, so you would tell the client, hey, your deposit is going to be a month and a half, which is $1,500. So always remember this when you're working with renters and buyers, ICC, 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 right? Yourself to your eyes, two eyes, CC. Okay. So income, capital, credit. All right. Now, after you do that, you're gonna go on their criteria. It's always good that if you're working with a buyer, you bring them to the office and you talk to them about some of the criteria that will fit them. For example, their budget. You would ask them, how much do you want to pay monthly? If they say I want to pay monthly 1,500, then you talk to the lender and tell them, hey, if they pay 200 out the door, what are we looking at in terms of sales price? Because a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, I want to buy a house for 150, I want to buy a house for 200, I want to buy a house for 300, but they don't know how much it's going to cost them monthly. So what I always do is I will always reverse it. I would tell them, how much are you capable of paying a month? And if they say 2,500, I know when I talk to the lender, he's going to tell me if they pay 2,500 with taxes and insurance, it's probably going to cost them a $300,000 house. You get the idea? So you always try to work the smart way because you don't want to go show them $200,000, $300,000 homes and they can't afford it because you didn't do the math and you didn't do the numbers. So criteria, you always got to do the numbers. The other thing is you ask the client, what kind of home do you want? How many bedrooms? How many baths? And I actually have it right here, some of the stuff that you would ask them on the criteria. If you look right here on the selling side, where it says right here criteria. Then after that, you would start doing the first things. 5 steps to buying a home. The first step is going to be showing the home. After you show the house, you write an offer. When you write an offer, always, if you're a brand new agent, have an experienced agent to read it, your office manager, your broker, before you send the contract, because that contract is a legal binding contract between the two parties. So you make sure everything is written correctly and make sure somebody or your supervisor looks at it before you send it, because once it's sent, the two clients are under contract. And if you did something that is not correct, good luck. Anyway, next step is deposits, state requirements. You have to turn in the EMD deposits within 2 days to your real estate broker. Very important. Make sure that your broker gets the deposits within 2 days if the offer gets accepted. For our company, the deposits will be ran to our escrow accounts, which is under Simon and Associates Real Estate. Now, always, when you're working with buyers, recommend an inspection. If they say, I don't want it, to be like, I think you should consider it. There's times when I paid for inspections out of my own pocket because I wanted to protect myself. And I also wanted to protect the client, because if the client refuses the inspection and you allow them, sometimes they're going to come to you and they're going to say it's your fault. Buyers are liars. They're always going to blame you. So always recommend an inspection. If they say they don't want it, make sure they sign a disclosure saying that they said they don't want an inspection. So that way you're protected if something happens down the line. All right. So step number 3, this is going to be after the offer is accepted, you give it to the title company, you give it to the lender, and the lender is going to work on the appraisal and get the title work. At this point, you will be in the 2nd or 3rd week since the offer got accepted. The lender will schedule an appointment to make sure the home appraisal is taken care of. And when we're talking about appraisal, it's the bank valuing the home, making sure that the home is worth the sales price, the price that agreed upon by the parties. After that, you're going to go to step number 4, which is finalizing your mortgage and your title documents. So at this point, this is going to be around the 4th week since the offer got accepted. The lender will reach out to the seller and they would go over closing documents, interest rates, the final amount of down payments, monthly payments, make sure everything is all set. Real estate agents, always, no matter what, under no circumstances, you should go to a closing without doing a final walkthrough. If you ever do that, if you go to a closing and you don't do a final walkthrough and something happens, you are liable. It's your fault. You can be it's technically misrepresentation because you're not really representing your client the accurate way. So make sure that you do your duty, because as a real estate agent, as an agent, you have a fiduciary duty to those clients. And part of that fiduciary duty is to make sure that they get the best service and making sure they are protected. So if the client says, no, it's okay, I don't want to do a final walkthrough, encourage them. Tell them, listen, I highly recommend it. Things can happen, things can change. Because if they don't, after they sign, it's a done deal. After that, good luck. You would have to be in court to get things done. And it's going to cost a lot of money from both sides, and you don't want to do that. So always, always recommend a final walkthrough. Do we have any questions? All right, very good. Now, so there's something that I also want to talk about when it comes to cities. Certain cities, like for example, the city of Dearborn, before you close a home, they require something called CFO. CFO also stands for Certificate of Occupancy. This is an inspection. It's not a private inspection. This is a city inspection. It has nothing to do with the due diligence inspection on the contract. Some cities require you to have a certificate of occupancy before you close on the home because they want to make sure the home is in good standing. So that's something you should always, always be aware of. So if you ever like get to a closing and you're representing the buyer, make sure you ask the seller side, hey, I want a copy of the CFO, and make sure it's written under your client's name. And that's just it for today. That's all I have for you. And you're going to get a copy of everything that we discussed through your email. If you have any questions, please give me a call at 248-635-2880. Thank you so much to you guys, and God bless. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, Noor, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. Everything is perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so do you understand the steps, the process?
Yeah, I did. But here's the thing. Whenever somebody like I wants to lease a house, they need the 30% of the income. It should be like 30% of their income. But nobody has like an income that is higher, like for 3K, as the same example that you gave.
Yeah. If
And
they have it, they
yeah,
don't qualify.
most of them, yeah, I cannot find another house like
Yeah, they don't have it.
that can work. No, I'm trying to. Well, I talked